It's top trumps. Don't worry, this doesn't have anything to do with politics. It's the highly, I guess, overrated card game that seems to tie in with everything pop culture related of late. And every store seems to stock these tins when a new movie or TV show comes out, and at ridiculous prices like $5, $7, and then mark them down to like a quarter. That's what I got this for, when they don't sell. From what I understand, having not played either game, it's like a really dumbed down version of Pokemon, which is like a really dumbed down version of Magic the Gathering. You just grab a card and yell out a stat. There are no power-up cards, no real strategy, nothing. Just the luck of the draw and just hoping that the stat you yell out, no one else has a card that has a stat higher than that, and that's all there is to it. Now, you would think this is a tie-in with the latest Star Wars movie, given that it came out around that time, and there's a picture of Kylo Ren, who only appears in that movie, but that's a filthy lie. Because when you open it up, which is surprisingly hard to do, and get past the card that explains the rules, which that should tell you how simplistic and strategy-free this game is, that it can be explained with this one card on top, and get past the advertising for all this tie-in merchandise and websites and such, and all the other things that there are top trump cards for. As I said, everything on the planet, it appears. They're like Pogs, only I guess more useless. Here's something. The container for these cards. So yeah, like I'm gonna buy a more expensive container. You see that it's for only the original trilogy. And some of the stats are ridiculous. Here's where you make your own card, which I don't know why you wouldn't just mark every stat as the highest possible. So that's good for kids who want to cheat at a game that's already this simple. I just thought I'd take a look at some of the cards and show you that I don't think these people have even ever seen the movie, because I'm not sure what half these stats mean. I mean, you have height, brains, Wedgie Antilles gets an 11, dark side 3. I'm not sure we ever saw him tempted by the dark side, but okay. Jedi powers 10. Wedgie Antilles has 10. Jedi battle skills 37. Okay, he was one of the few pilots to survive all 3 movies. And force factor 3. Okay, I want you to keep that in mind, that he had a force factor of 3. That seems like a low stat compared to some of these others, but I think that's supposed to measure how much force he can use, but I'm not sure. But keep in mind that Wedge, who we never saw use the force and never saw tempted by the dark side, has a 3 marker on both of those. That would make him a Sith, wouldn't it? Then you've got the Wampa, who's got brains of 5. So yeah, Wedgie Antilles is only twice as smart as the dumb thing that got its arm cut off by Luke. Height 3. I see. It wasn't a 17. It was a 1.7. A dark side of 12. Force factor 1. Okay. Han Solo has a dark side of 6. That might explain Kylo Ren in the last movie. Jedi powers of 4, even though he didn't believe in the Force. And he has the same force factor as Wedgie Antilles. Battle skill 50. So he's almost useless, but I find it interesting that he has Jedi powers at 4. R2-D2 has brains of 14, and yes, nothing dark side or Jedi powers. Battle skill 14, which is just odd considering that all he has is a little zapper. And then, but he still has a force factor of 6. So we can still use the force even though he has no other force stats, I guess. Pound up Bamba, which just sounds like something you'd hear about in some slash fic. Yeah, just take a look at those stats while I change the batteries because they just went dead after 5 minutes. I really need a camera that plugs into main power. So let's try to get through the rest of these quickly. You have Mon Mothma. That's maybe one of the silliest names Lucas ever came up with. Force fact. Nandu. Lucas, would you stop letting toddlers name all your ancillary characters, please? Oh, and in the prequel trilogy, don't let toddlers name your main characters. Ooh, you've got Admiral Oswald, who came out of Lightspeed too quickly. Yeah, I've heard that about him. He has a dark side of 19. Yeah. Oh, and he's played by a British character actor who appeared something like 6 times on Doctor Who. Cyril, darn it, I'm blanking on his name, but it's Cyril something. Imperials, Royal Guards, yep, horseback. Battle skills 42, even though we never saw them use that. Darth Vader, okay, now we're getting somewhere. His dark side is only 22? And his force factor is 4. That's just one notch above Wedgie Antilles, who we never saw use the force, and he threw whole rooms at Luke. Keep it. Yeah, this is where the stats. The force factor is where the stats get really weird, and I'm not sure what force factor is supposed to mean other than their ability to use the force in battle. Again, Leia has a force factor of 4, again, even though all we ever saw was her receive a message from Luke. And of course they had to pick Slave Leia, of course. Couldn't not objectify the only, one of the few women in the deck of cards. Tusken Raider, which, thank you for not using the racial slur. Actually calling them by their actual name. Battle skill 40, I guess because he defeated Luke by sneaking up on him, which I guess fair enough, but I don't think they... Yeah, again, a force factor of 4 for Boba Fett here. And he has Jedi powers, which, when do we ever see that? Luke? Dark side 4, he was tempted by dark side, so I got Jedi power, brains 15. Battle skill 43, which makes him just barely above Boba Fett, who flew into the... No, it's lower than Boba Fett. Boba Fett showed up, got a guy who was already captured, frozen, and then flew into the side of a barge and went after getting hit in the back with a stick by a blind man. Luke Skywalker's battle skill is below that of Boba Fett. And his force factor is only set 1 higher than Wedge, who never used the Force. Lando Calrissian. Jedi powers again. When do we ever see him use Jedi powers? Battle skill 48. So he's higher than Luke. And he's still below. Boba Fett, even though he successfully led a fleet on the final Death Star assault and knew to fly closer to the Star Destroyers to keep the Empire from being able to use the Death Star to their advantage. Obi-Wan, his force factor is at 5, okay, so he's only 2 above the robot. Can robots use the Force? I mean, if it's something in your blood, metachlorines, why would a droid even have a Force factor? I guess that's yet another reason why, so I don't know which is stupider, the metachlorians or these cards. Neum Nub. And no, I'm not making that name up, that's his actual name, and this is the closest this could probably be called to having anything to do with Star Wars Episode 7, because he does appear in that movie, briefly. Salacious Crumb! The Muppet who talks directly to the camera, if you've ever seen the old VHS special from Star Wars to Jedi. Hello in TV land. His brain's of 9, yeah. Battle skill 4. And here's what you will not believe. C-3PO has 0 almost everything except brains, which I guess he wants to run from everything in a universe where everything wants to kill you, so fair enough. But then he has a force factor that's exactly the same as Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Jedi Knight. So would he have done just as well in a fight with... If it came down to using the Force, would he do just as well in a fight against Darth Vader as Obi-Wan Kenobi, I guess, is what the makers of these cards are saying? Chewbacca. Yeah. Jedi powers. He's a little more ambiguous about whether or not he believes in the Force, so I'll give them that. But still, I don't remember ever seeing him using it. Yoda. Yeah. Jedi powers 100, okay. Brains 20, okay. But Force factor 5. So again, only 1 above the droid. And he lifted the droid, and R2 seemed very surprised by him lifting the ship out of the muck in Empire Strikes Back. Bosk, I guess is how you pronounce that. Yeah, he's got an even higher battle skill. He was just a random extra staying around, and he's got an even higher battle skill than Boba Fett. Maybe Jabba the Hutt wouldn't be dead if he had used him instead of Boba flying to the side of a barge Fett. Imperial Stormtroopers, battle skill 49. Okay, they've got a higher battle skill than Luke Skywalker, then how come he and everybody else, even the princess, who apparently had never held a blaster before, was picking them off like they were clay pigeons or something. And they too have a force factor of 3. It's like, it's very rare for something to get marked down below 3. Jawas, they have battle skill 10, and they have a even higher force factor than Wedge Antilles. What on earth Do we ever see them using the Force? And they're just one below again. Jedi Master Yoda. Jabba the Hutt. Okay, I guess I'll give him the brain stats since he was smart enough not to be tricked by the Jedi mind trick, but it does seem odd to me when he took hostages and never demanded any ransom, and it just seemed destined to get a paramilitary group that was a threat to the government, such a threat that the government was setting a trap for them, to come after him in force. I mean, that's what would have happened if Luke hadn't had that escape plan. He never asked for a ransom or anything. He just took him hostage just to take hostages. Never tried to sell him to the Empire or anything. So what was the point of that? Battle skill 1. Even though we actually see him do stuff in battle, he has, and succeed. Wicket W. Warwick. They actually name him after the actor playing him, and is he one of the few Star Wars characters to have a middle initial? And it's WWW when you break his name down. That's just odd. I don't think any other Star Wars character has a middle initial. Bib Fortuna, you know, that weird guy who comes off that molestery vibe in Return of the Jedi. I just don't want to think about what he's doing to those droids in a back room somewhere. Battle skills 32. Did we see him do anything? He's marked he's marked higher than people we saw in actual battle. Greedo, battle skill 30. Give me a break. Brains 8. So he's just barely dumber than some of the strategic thinkers who actually did something in the movies and came up with strategies, I guess. And we're down to our last two, the Imperial Emperor, who Jedi power is below Yoda, which explains why he kicked Yoda's butt in the big battle. And his force factor, again, 5. So apparently Wedge Antilles would have stood some sort of chance. And it's a trap! Because our last one is Admiral Akbar, who has brains of 15, dark side 1, one of the lowest dark sides we've seen so far, Jedi power 20. I guess he did say, "May the Force be with us," although that seemed more like a generic good luck phrase than him actually believing. Battle skill 34. I guess he led a fleet, so I'll give him that. And a force factor of 1, which he seems to be the fairest card. So that gives you some idea. And you just yell out those stats, and that's it. And they come in these overrated metal tins, and they want you to buy other overrated metal tins. All in all, one of the most useless pieces of merchandise I've ever seen, and yeah. Maybe it was worth a quarter for a laugh, but what they charge for them is just insane. And as I said, the side of the container, which is all you really see in the store, is a complete lie because it has nothing to do with Star Wars Episode 7. Good job there. You managed to take strategic card games and somehow remove all the strategy. And you made the stats ridiculous. I mean, is there anyone who hasn't seen Star Wars yet at this point? Next time, rent the DVDs before making your stupid cards.